to the High Noon Rant with me, Pugs Moran, for a Friday, November the 3rd. I should know that. Why should I know that? Because this whole show is just about what today is. It's about the day. It's about what's happened on this day. It's about who's done what on this day, who died on this day. And then we get into all of the things that are actually shaping this day. So 4 quarters of show coming at you here on a Friday afternoon. First quarter, we do a look back at history. Call it Erstwhile on this day. We cherry pick some of the things that have shaped our understanding of what this day is represented. And we chop it up over those events. Then we go to birthdays. Quarter two is birthdays. Who was born on this day? Do we like them or do we think they're a dick? That's what we do. We go through that. Then we do deaths. This is fun. This is where we sit in judgment. This is where I'll get to all of this stuff. A lot of questions in the chat room, my people. Hey, Cam. Hey, Adam. Hey, Jen. Who else we got? Jeff is here. Pete's here. Everybody's here. Come in the chat room. Come on. Gather around. Beanbag chairs, yoga mats, whatever it is. I don't care. Form your soul circle of life. Join hands and let's move forward through this day with optimism and hope for the future. Deaths. Yeah, third quarter. Deaths. We like to sit and judge. We look at a person's life resume and we go, this person died today. Here's what they did. Heaven or hell. That's right. We decide. We're the boss for this very brief moment. We get to decide. Then we go into all of the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, that's the bulk of the show. Most important time of the show. We go through all the things, their headlines, trends, breaking news, whatever it is people are buzzing about today. Then we go through that. Okay. A couple of things right off the top. I would like to thank today's executive producer of the show. There were a couple of choices, but sorry, the heart wants what the heart wants. Ladies and gentlemen, Mama B is our executive producer of today's show. Now, this does not mean that the actions of a one Joel weren't greatly appreciated. Or the ongoing and now final. You can stop Peter. Peter can stop. Peter, throughout the entire Ranger run, has been tipping the show daily, which is wonderful. Thank you, Peter. You have no idea how just little things, little gestures like that. I mean, they really do just go a long way to this operation. So thank you so much, Peter. Peter then dropped a final donation yesterday, 5555. He'd been tipping $5.55. It's between me and him. It's a Ranger thing, okay? If you people don't, so thank you, Peter. I really do appreciate that. Joel, as always, dude, thank you so much. But Mama B, man, that's just like unexpected. That's awesome. I mean, it's not, unfortunately, it's not unexpected because Mama B is an ardent supporter of this show and has been, but it's still really nice. You have to understand, she's one of my best and oldest friends' moms. She was like, you know, I mean, my mom was like the cool mom because my mom was the cool mom because my mom was the single mom. And, you know, my mom was kind of, you know, out in the world. She wasn't a housewife. She wasn't all uptight and all that stuff. So that's what my mom was. But like, as far as like the whole family dynamic that, you know, you just looked at and you went, I want to be in that family. That's what Mama B was. Mama B had this family thing going on that she oversaw, that all the parties, you know, not the crazy cool mom parties, but I mean like they have parties and every kid in the neighborhood shows up. I mean, 18, 19, 20 college, they all come back and the parents and nobody can, everybody loves these families. They're that family. So it means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. Mama Beller. So thank you so much. Also, let's do an update on where we are on the show. We got one show left. You can read the scroll down there. Guys, we're $60 short. So I think that's what it was. We started the week at like $375. And I got to be honest, that's the biggest number that we've ever started a final pledge week on. You know, normally we're like $250 away or whatever. No, we were pretty steep this month. And here we sit on Friday at $60. That's all we need. I mean, we've never not made it. And I got to be honest with you, we'll be okay. I mean, it might be a little bit tight. You know, we don't make the 60, so we don't hit budget and all that. We don't. So whatever. But whatever. We're head above water. We will survive. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you so much. You guys get this show going. You guys are the absolute best. Okay. So Thank you to Mama B. Also, yeah, whatever. Yeah, you still feel inclined? I don't care. Oh, here's the other thing I was thinking about too. You guys support this show. That's fantastic. I should be out there doing a job and all this, working and hating my life and doing, but you guys allow me the opportunity to not do that by meeting these goals every month. And that really means a lot to me. So I hope in some way, me doing this every day, like the monk of talk radio. I'm like a hermit monk of talk radio. Me doing this show every day, if it brings you some kind of happiness, and look, we're not growing. We're not a big, giant tidal wave of people who are fan furious about this show. But holy shit, you guys that are here. And you've been here every damn day. So thank you so much. All right, now let's get into some things. Let's get into some stuff. There were some questions in the chat room that I'll answer before we kick off here for the 4-quarter extravaganza that is my 2-hour stream of consciousness rant on all the day's news. My son had a football game. My son's final football game of the season was last night. Now, if you've been following my dad brags going on, my son's team is a damn juggernaut. Oh, my God. After 4 games, they were outscoring their opponents by like 200 points. It was like they've scored 200 points. Their combined opponents have scored 17. It was crazy. And then they got thumped. Then about week 6, this undefeated team, my son's team undefeated, came up against another team that they probably didn't take too serious, and they got thumped. They lost their first game of the year 45-0. We're like, good. That's a get-right game. They come back the next week. They dominate. They win 38-0. So it's good. You guys needed to be humbled. You guys needed to lose. Then the next week after that, they tie. And it's like, wait, what are we doing here now? We've got, in the last 3 weeks, we've got a loss, a tie, and a win. I thought we were a juggernaut. Now, with that said, if you remember that tie was spectacular. And I'm so glad Uncle E was there to see it. Because I'm always bragging about these games because we go to each other's kids' games. And he made it to that one. My kids' team was down like by 28 points entering the 4th quarter, and they battled back to a tie. So that was good. What that told me about my son's team this year is that they're good. They know they're good, but they lose trap games. They lose trap games because they're like, yeah, we're better than these guys. And then suddenly it's 40-0 at halftime. And they're like, what happened? And they're screaming at each other on the sideline. Talent, maybe a little undisciplined, but that's okay. They're freshmen. They've got 3 years together. 3 years together before they have to be a varsity. So they'll be fine. So last night was the final game of the year. With their record, they had won. They had already at least clinched a tie, I think it was. Or no, they had won outright. If they won the division, they won their division. They're good. That's all that counts. There is no playoffs. There is no freshman playoffs. I'm so upset. It's just about winning your division. So they won their division. Before last night's game, like last night's game didn't even matter. They won their division. They got blown out 38-6 last night. So proving my point that these guys are just, they were celebrating. They were like excited. They won the division. They're strutting around, and then they go play a game and get punched right in the freaking mouth. Final season record for my kids' team is 7-2-1. So we're very proud of them. That's great. Because remember, the previous 2 seasons, 7th and 8th grade teams that my son was on, 1 combined win in 2 seasons. So they were terrible. And then something happened. Maybe they get with some good coaching. So, all right, there you are. Yeah, right? Peter's like, sounds like the Cowboys. Yeah, it is. It's like the Cowboys. Very talented, susceptible to trap games because my son, let me speak about my son solely. My son is good at his position. I'm not going to hype him up at all. He's good. He's a captain. He's a team leader. But my son is very cocky. My son walks around about his team, not about life in general. He's a pretty humble kid, but about the team. When the team comes up, he's very chest comes out. And maybe that's a good thing to build on. Maybe that's what winners do, right? As they begin their competitive experience in life. Who knows? I don't know. I just think it's kind of cocky. I'm like, you're being cocky, dude. I go, you are cocky. There are kids out there who want to win just as bad as you. No, they don't. And it turns into that. So, okay. All right, good. I'm glad. And then suddenly I'm the great Santini. There's nobody better than you. You know, I'm like screaming at him. We don't want to do that. All right, folks, let's get started. What do you say? Let's start the show out properly. This is 4 quarters of hell. That's right. A stream of consciousness for 2 hours with me just cherry picking things that have happened on this day and things that are happening on this day. It is the High Noon Rant with me, Pugs Moran, the 3rd day of November, year of our Lord, 2023. That means how many days? 307. 307 days have passed in this calendar year, and we've got, what, 58? Oh, less than 2 months. Not a joke. Now you got to start be looking at like, oh, do I want to get those tickets to that fancy ball at the, whatever hotel downtown for New Year's Eve? Don't, by the way, that would be my advice. Don't ever spend New Year's Eve at a fancy hotel downtown. Don't ever do that. That is like the worst New Year's Eve of my life was that. It was that. Here in Dallas. Just, oh, God. Everything's so expensive and crowded. Oh, my God. All right, let's talk about what today is. Shall we move into Erstwhile on this day? Why not? This is where we take a look back at some of the events that have shaped our understanding of what November the 3rd has represented. Come on, let's go. On this day in 1493, erstwhile 1493, Christopher Columbus first sights the island of Dominica in the Caribbean Sea. He did, and he famously stood on the bow of the boat, pointed and went, "Look, it's Japan!" Because, get it? He was lost. He didn't. Columbus is like a dick-tripping fool, genocidal maniac, didn't know where the hell he was. Hopped up on drugs. Yeah, people don't talk about that. He did drugs the whole trip over. They all did. Those sailors, that's what they did. Middle of the ocean. You got like 50 more days of this. They're doing the drugs of their day, whatever it was. But he liked opium. I think that's what he had, opium. One of the reasons he was so fascinated with the East. He wanted to get out there and get... He was an opium addict. That's why he was lost. Christopher Columbus. On this day, 1783, the American Continental Army is disbanded. We won the war, boys. Go home. Go home and tend to your slaves. On this day in 1919, Chevrolet. See the USA in a Chevrolet. Way before my time, that jingle, but I know it. Chevrolet officially enters the automobile market. It was the first competition to the Ford Model T. What was the first Chevy? Like a Corvette? Like a Model T Corvette? First sports car? On this day in 1936, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, is elected the 32nd president of these here United States. Franklin Delano, that's because of Eleanor, because of his wife. Greatest first lady, of course, of all time. FDR, greatest president. Not debating it. Moving on. On this day in 1956. So what are we talking about here? 40, 50, 60, 63, 66. 66 years ago? Was it 66? 4, 5, 6. 67 years ago. 67. Breaking. This could be a headline from today. 1956. The Khan Yunis killings by the Israeli Defense Forces in the Egyptian-controlled area of Gaza result in the deaths of 275 Palestinians on this day, 1956. Okay, yeah, again, but please, for the sake of just sanity and for the sake of just being able to move forward, let's stop looking at what's happening right now in Gaza. Let's stop looking at what's happening right now with the Israeli Defense Forces. Let's stop looking at that like this is a part of some giant historical thing. It is. But if that's the case, we're granting ourselves permission to go, nothing we can do about it. These people have been fighting since biblical times. So I keep saying, resist that urge. That's a loser's urge. That's the urge to go, well, what can you do with these people? No, look at the situation that's happening right now. Begin with October the 7th. That's it. I'm sorry. I know that's unfair. But the Palestinian people have been... Yes, they have. The world is a terrible place, man, and my heart bleeds for people. But, what can I do? We have to have compassion, and we have to have some sort of global, dedicated ideology towards helping people in need. Those who can help should want to help. That should be all of our moral foundation. Unfortunately, it's not. So my heart does bleed for the Palestinian people. But man, this is a retaliation. This is in response to what occurred on October 7th. Just look at the situation like that. And when it's over, then we can go back to the tables and we can say, okay, everybody got that out of their system. The problem is, are there going to be any tables when this is over? That's the problem with this. Is there going to be any bargaining tables when this is, whatever happens, happens? You got China saber rattling, you got Iran saber rattling, you got Russia saber rattling, you got us. Hezbollah is getting involved. More on that coming up. So come on this day in 56, the IDF, the Palestinians, Gaza, there was nonsense happening. On this day in 1992, Democratic Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton defeats Republican President George H.W. Bush. That's Herbert Walker. He defeats Bush and independent candidate Ross Perot in the 92 election. I remember this. It's quite a thing. I remember watching this in 1992, being a young man. ABC News probably had it on. And Clinton came out, and he was at the governor's mansion in Arkansas. And it was when he made his acceptance speech. He wasn't at some, election night balls or whatever. And he was in Arkansas. And it was really quite a cool visual. Like, that's what I remember. And this is like the first of, okay, so this dude's our president now. It was a cool visual. It was different because typically, you see these acceptance speeches in hotel ballrooms and stuff like that. But no, Clinton was on the back porch at the governor's mansion in Arkansas. Now, that sounds quaint. I failed to mention that there was probably 10,000 people on the lawn, but it was a good visual. Not as good as Obama in Grant Park. That's the greatest. That visual is cool. That's another non-traditional visual where it's just not a guy in a hotel ballroom going, thank you. That's boring. Let's see here. What else happened in this world on this day? Erstwhile in 2014, One World Trade Center officially opens in New York City, replacing the Twin Towers. I was just saying, I don't think I've seen One World Trade Center. And I'm trying to think, have I been to New York City since 2014? And yes, I have. But why didn't I? I must have noticed it in the time. Is it that forget? It can't be forget. Never forget. Right there with the hashtag never forget. So I don't know. I think I've seen it. Maybe I've seen it. I don't know. Whatever. I wish that made more of an impression on me. It seems like it should have. I don't know. Year, dateline, erstwhile, 2020. The 2020 United States presidential election takes place. It was 3 years ago. 3 years ago today that President Joe Biden. All right, we're going to move on because we don't do that shit on this show, right? I don't want to stoke anybody. I'm not even going to look at the chat room until I think the coast is clear. Biden won the presidential election 3 years ago today. Let's move on, okay? Jesus. There you go. That's erstwhile on this day. Q1 is in the books, my friends. Now it's time for the birthdays. That's right. We do a little thing called Buonum, Buonum, Buonum. They say it's their birthday. Why do we call it that? Because I don't have the rights to the Beatles song. Otherwise, I'd play it, so I have to sing it. Buonum, Buonum, Buonum. They say it's their birthday. Buonum, Buonum, Buonum. Who might have doubted them? We take a look at people who were born on this day, and we just decide, do we like them or not? Are they okay? What do we think? Born on this day in 1908. He dead now. Born on this day in 1908, Bronco Nagurski. Great, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the greatest football name of all time. Bronco Nagurski. Yeah, he's one of them. He was like the first, I don't know who would be a good example. He was like the first superstar running back in the NFL. Born on this day in 1908, Bronco Nagurski. Love it. Born on this day in 1921. Here's another one I love. Oh, Charles Bronson. Bronson was so cool. Don't make me find that Bing picture of Charles Bronson in Jill Ireland walking down the street in the 70s, looking like the most idealized 70s couple ever. Oh my God, he was cool. Bronson was cool. The Death Wish movies, man, I'm telling you, nothing shaped my little 9-year-old life as much as those Death Wish movies on TV. Remember on Saturday night, you can't go anywhere, so the 10:30 movie on ABC would be Tonight, Charles Bronson in Death Wish 3. Didn't even matter that I hadn't seen. I'd see him out of order. Doesn't matter. Charles Bronson. What else? Dirty Dozen. Bronson was cool. Born on this day, Charles Bronson. We like him. If you haven't guessed, I like him. Born on this day in 1949. How about Larry Holmes? Larry Holmes did not. The Larry Holmes toaster was a very big seller for Larry Holmes. George, Larry I don't know what to say about Larry Holmes, because honestly, when I first put that down, I was like, oh yeah, I can riff on the Larry Holmes grill, and then I went, no, wait, that's George Foreman. That's Foreman did the grill. What did Larry Holmes do? Yeah. Larry Holmes carpet cleaning. I don't know what Larry Holmes did. But anyway, happy birthday, former heavyweight champion of the world, Larry Holmes. Born on this day in 1949. Born on this day in 1952, Roseanne Barr. Roseanne Barr, born on this day in 1952. Roseanne Barr. I was watching something recently. You know, I'm a comedian freak, so I like to watch all kinds of documentaries on comedy and all that stuff. And there was this thing that I was watching, and one of the segments was talking about Roseanne Barr and when she came on the scene at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles, and how that was sort of, everybody knew instantly. They were like, oh my God, this is so different. Oh my God. And so I watched, and I probably hadn't seen Roseanne Barr stand-up comedy in 40 years. You guys, she was tremendous. Like, I just went through that Dean Lewis comedy school just to see what I could learn, just to see what kind of fun stuff. I learned a lot of things. I learned a lot. I watch comedians differently now. Like, things that Dean Lewis taught me in that class to, like, be on the alert for, this is a joke structure. If they say this, they're probably going here with the joke. It's really fun. These are fun tools that I learned. But I utilize these tools now, and I'm watching Roseanne Barr. She was a master, a mistress, a what? I don't know, a god, a goddess. Holy shit, she was good. She was really good. She was a really good stand-up comedian. No reason for her to have that level of confidence. The confidence that she had on stage, the pacing. And I mean, we were looking, the reason I'm saying this is because I'm looking at like her first, like they showed tape of her first night at the Comedy Store. She was totally unknown. She crushed the room. Just got off a bus from Salt Lake City. Oh man, Roseanne Barr. I like now rank her, like after watching that doc and actually really seeing what she did, I was like, man, does she get the credit that she deserves for being a stand-up comedian? She may very well be the greatest female stand-up comedian of all time. Roseanne Barr, born on this day in 1952. Born on this day in 1953, Dennis Miller. God, I hate Dennis Miller. I've hated Dennis Miller for condescending, elitist. Babe, oh God, did I hate that guy. Anyway, Dennis Miller. Was he kind of funny? I mean, he did the news on Saturday Night Live. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, which was a stand-up special that he did for HBO back in the early 90s, I thought was good. It wasn't a typical it was political, and it was good. Like, I thought it was interesting in the time, in the moment. I haven't seen that in a while. But then I went and saw him once in Chicago at the Funny Firm when he was touring, and I remember it wasn't good. I remember the guy who opened, that's it. Oh my God. The guy who opened for him blew him off the stage. Who was the guy who opened for him? It was somebody who went on to be kind of a famous comedian, and he was an unknown then. And he opened, and we were like, that guy was much better than Dennis Miller. Anyway, moving on. Happy birthday, Dennis Miller. He's got a good life, Let's see here. Happy birthday to Adamant. Adamant, born on this day in 1954. He don't drink, he don't smoke. What do? He don't drink, he don't smoke. Adam and the Ants, Adamant. Dressed like a pirate. Had a couple of videos in the 80s. I think there were a lot of people in the 80s who acted like Adamant was much more significant an artist than he really was. He's just a commercial pop star. That's all Adamant was. But, that's not a bad song, right? Goody Two Shoes, that's a hit. Strip is a banger, though. The song Strip, that's the other Adamant hit. That's why I wanted to lead with Goody Two Shoes, because that's the one everybody knows. Strip is a good song. I love that song. It's on one of my playlists. It's on my jet ski playlist. So I have been experiencing jet ski joy while listening to Would You Follow Me Into History? If I strip for you, will you strip for me? Happy birthday, Adamant. I like Adamant. Wish I could play that song. Can't. They ding me with a bill. No, they wouldn't. They just wouldn't allow the video be seen anywhere. But honestly, since we're not growing as a stream, I mean, it's just you, it's just all of us. So why not? I should probably not even worry about that. These shows are not evergreen. Evergreen meaning that you can't listen to this show in 6 months. I mean, maybe if you're just curious about what was happening on this day, but these days, these shows are so specific to the day that they occurred. The only reason that you would go back and listen is if something significant happens on that day and you want to go back and be like, oh, what were they talking about on that day? But that didn't happen yet that I know. I don't know. Adaman, born on this day in 1954. Born on this day in 1957, Dolph Lundgren. I will destroy you. Drago from the Rocky movies, you guys. Dolph Lundgren, we do this every year. We do this every year on his birthday. I always have to remind people, Dolph Lundgren is not who you think he is. What do you think he is? Well, I think he's just a big, giant, scary guy. Yeah, anything else? He's also like really handsome. Yeah, it's that Swedish thing. He's like this idealized Swedish god. This Teutonic knight from yonder. So he's all that. He's also a karate guy, right? He's like he did the karate thing. He's very well known because he did a whole bunch of those movies. But what I don't think people know about Dolph Lundgren is that he is a genius. Like he is an off-the-charts intellectual genius. And a doer and an accomplisher and a guy that just he was a black he became a first of all, do you know how hard it is to become a black belt in karate? No, I know there's a lot of dudes. My friend's cousin Tom, he's got a black belt. No, he doesn't. I mean, the belt he was given is black, but black belts being handed out by dudes who run dojos next to a nail salon and a check cashing place aren't exactly legitimate. But if you're willing to pay this guy like $100 a month for like 5 years, yeah, he will eventually give you a black belt and you'll be able to walk around going, I'm a black belt. And then you fight a real black belt and you get your clock cleaned instantly. They're called McBelts, right? That ain't what Dolph had. That ain't what Dolph Lundgren had. Dolph Lundgren didn't have a McBelt, okay? He's not a McBlack belt. He's a legit black belt. He was the captain of the Swedish Olympic martial arts team or karate team or whatever it was. He was a 2-time international karate champion. Dolph Lundgren, legit at fighting. Competitive. Like, I don't know what he is in a street fight. Probably pretty deadly because he is big, scary, and skilled. But, you know, we're talking about like international karate and kickboxing stuff. He's very accomplished. But let me read you this. This is just a life. Imagine this life. First of all, you're born Dolph Lundgren. He was born into a family that was very well connected. His mother and father both worked for the government in high-ranking official positions. So you're Dolph Lundgren. You're born with money. Your parents are connected. You're freaking really good looking. Like, could you imagine Dolph Lundgren at 16? What he looked like at 16? I mean, my God, why he didn't open a pool boy business? Sweden. Maybe they don't. A Zamboni business. Maybe that's something. They don't have pools. Maybe they got ice rinks. Come over and he could clean the ice of all the sexy housewives. So he's already got that going for him. But then let's go with all this stuff, okay? Let's see. Lundgren said as a child he was insecure about his allergies, describing himself as a runt. He showed a keen interest in drumming and had aspirations to become a rock star. At the age of 7, he tried judo. He took up karate at the age of 10 and began lifting weights as a teenager. Lundgren stated that my dad always told me that if I wanted to make something special with my life, I had to go to America. After graduating from high school with straight A's, he spent some time in the United States in the 1970s on various academic scholarships, studying chemical engineering at Washington State University and again in the master's program at Clemson. He studied chemical engineering for a year at Washington State University between 75 and 76. Prior to serving his mandatory 1 year in the Swedish Army, had to serve in the Army, 17 or 18 years old, coming over to America, studying at Washington State, then moves on to Clemson, then goes back to Sweden to work in the Army. Oh, yeah, also at this time, he's captain of the Swedish national karate team. He's competing internationally. He's young. He's good looking. Probably doesn't have a dime in his – I don't know what all this is paying him, but he's got a family with money, so he's enjoying life. Good Lord. Imagine being Dolph Lundgren in 1978. Hell, imagine being Dolph Lundgren in 1988. That would be pretty good too, I imagine, because you just add movie star to all this other cool shit. Amidst his years of studying, Lundgren honed his karate skills by training in a dojo for 5 years, and had attained a black belt in Kiroshin. By the late 70s, he captained the Swedish karate team and was a challenger at the 79 World Open Tournament. Okay, we don't need to know that. All right, here, let's do this. Okay. In 1982, Lundgren graduated with a master's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Sydney. He just studies at every university that's near where he's living. It's incredible. This is Dolph Lundgren. I will destroy you. Lundgren was awarded a Fulbright scholarship to MIT in 1983. A Fulbright scholarship. MIT. However, while preparing for the move to Boston, all right, this is where it gets crazy, okay? He's already got his master's. Now he's got a full ride scholarship to come across the sea and study at MIT, right? To further his shit. He's still, like, going to kick your ass because he's, like, an amazing karate guy. He's still Dolph Lundgren. Like, he's stealing your girlfriend, just so you know. He's stealing your girlfriend. He's getting better grades than you, and he can kick your ass. And, oh, yeah, what's this in the mail? Oh, MIT has invited me to come study with them because they enjoy my brain. So that's what he's doing. So now he's on his way to MIT. But guess what happens? He's bouncing in a club in Sydney while he's preparing to move to Boston. And Grace Jones, who was like a scary model / pop star, Grace Jones sees him as a doorman at a club she was playing at and basically just he becomes her boyfriend, lover, boy, toy, whatever, giant thing. So Grace Jones goes to New York City, right? He's like, actually, she's going to make me a model. She says I can be a male model. So he decided he's going to be a male model. He's going to put the MIT Fulbright scholarship on hold. Imagine that. You got a scholarship to MIT because MIT thinks that the Fulbright scholarship is for people in other countries to come and study. MIT thinks you're the smartest person in your country. So they want your brain. And you decide, no, I'm going to go party with Grace Jones and be a model in New York for a while. That'll wait. The life this guy had. So then Grace goes on tour. He doesn't want to go on tour because, of course, he's taking courses in New York. He's like, Grace, I can't go on tour with you. I got to stay here in New York because, trying to get another degree. Dolph Lundgren. I will destroy you. That's who I'm talking about. This guy who we all think is just a big idiot. So he stays there. He starts working at the Limelight, which was a famous New York City club. He's a doorman at the Limelight. You know who his partner? There were two doormen in the famous years of the Limelight. You know who the doormen were? Dolph Lundgren and Chaz Palminteri. Chaz, they weren't famous. Neither of them were famous yet, but they were working the door, checking IDs at this popular club. It was there while working the door at the popular club when just another wonderful thing happened to Dolph Lundgren, who apparently just shits rainbows. That's where a producer from Hollywood said, want to be in the next Rocky movie? And it was off to the races. So Dolph Lundgren, there you go. Happy birthday to him. He's kind of a hero of mine. He's kind of like this dude. Born on this day in 1957, Dolph Lundgren. Born on this day in 1987, Colin Kaepernick. Born on this day in 1987, Kyle Seeger. Who's Kyle Seeger? Well, why did I mention Kyle Seeger? I'm mentioning Kyle Seeger because Kyle Seeger is the older brother of Corey Seager, a world champion again. And World Series MVP, Corey Seager. So happy birthday to Corey Seager, his brother, Kyle Seager, born on this day in 1987. Born on this day also in 1987. Boy, here's a bunny hole that I fell down today. I saw this. I saw it was the anniversary, or I saw it was her birthday, and I'm like, what do I know about her? What that? Born on this day in 1987, ladies and gentlemen, Elizabeth Smart. Elizabeth Smart. Remember Elizabeth Smart? I had to familiarize myself with that story because I knew the basics. Like, I kidnapped, weirdo, found her. That was it. I went back and studied the details of old Elizabeth Smart. Apparently, she's on ABC TV now. She's like an ABC TV. She's like an expert on It's funny. She is an expert on abductions, right? I mean, that's what she. I guess that's what she does, according to the. I looked up the ABC website. So according to like the ABC, what her job is at ABC News is that she's there kidnapping, sexual abuse, all the terrible things that happened to her. She is now. ABC is paying her to go tell us about it. But I want to see what she looks like because she was such a beautiful little girl, and I don't think I've seen her in a while. Let's take a look at what's Elizabeth Smart looking like today, because she's a grown-ass woman now. Look at her. There she is. She's beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. That's a Mormon, right? That's Utah. So everybody in Utah looks like. Oh, look at her. Yeah. Okay, so we're looking at these pictures of the lovely Elizabeth Smart, who became America's darling when she was missing. Do you remember how long she was missing? Here, I got to share it. Sorry. Boom. There she is. I'll put her up. You remember how long she was missing? She was missing for 9 months. I think if you'd have asked me earlier today, how long was Elizabeth Smart missing? I'd have been like, 5 years, right? It seemed like that story occupied a good chunk. Kidnapped from her home. She was 14 years old. Brian Mitchell, who went by the name Ishmael, because, he's it's another one of these coincidences where he's completely into the God thing and he's fucking nutty buckets. Crazy. That coincidence, where's the Venn diagram on that? Severely mentally ill and religiously devout. I want to see the overlap because there is big overlap. That's him. That's what he did. The family had hired him to fix the roof. He was like a day laborer, like a homeless dude. So they had hired him out of the goodness of their Mormon hearts to bring this guy into their house and help him fix their roof. He fixed the roof, and then a couple of nights later, he came back, snuck into Elizabeth Smart's bedroom, kidnapped her at knife point in the middle of the night, took her away. 9 months gone. The entire nation, where'd she go? What is this? They throw the picture of Elizabeth Smart up. We all go, oh my God. That was by design. I don't want to go into the whole Elizabeth Smart, the lesson. There is a journalism lesson in Elizabeth Smart. Not a lesson so much as an indicator of where journalists routinely go wrong. And we, the public, we don't understand it. All right, I'll quickly delve into that. The night that Elizabeth Smart was stolen, kidnapped, the night that shit happened to her, the exact same thing happened earlier in the day to a little girl in Milwaukee who was abducted from her school bus stop. She was standing there waiting for her school bus, and a guy pulled up and dragged her into the car and sped off, and the guy was chased down the street by people. So both of these stories at some place, at some news station, not some news station, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, they have these meetings where they go into a boardroom, conference room, if you will, and it's producers and it's story editors and it's all these people, and they say, all right, what's making the news today? And on this very day, they were presented with two stories. They were presented with the story of Elizabeth Smart. They were presented with the story of Tiffany. I want to say Tiffany Watson. I'll have to look that up. In the story of Tiffany. And every single news department in America went, we can't do two. So they just did the one, and they did Elizabeth Smart. Why? Why did they choose to promote the Elizabeth Smart abduction on the very same day that another girl in Milwaukee? Because the girl in Milwaukee was abducted from outside a project, and she was a black girl from a broken home, and Elizabeth Smart was freaking gorgeous. Now, is that racism? No. Are the effects of that thinking sometimes racist and detrimental to minorities? Absolutely. Why is it not racist? Because they're not interested in telling the story about, the white girl versus the black girl. They're interested in putting the story up that is going to connect to their targeted audience. What is going to emotionally connect with the audience that they want to sell Carnival Cruises and Lexuses to? Now, those are two very important price points that I mentioned there. Poor people don't go on Carnival Cruises. Poor people don't buy Lexuses, okay? So it's not about color, it's about income. The news decides they want to go after whoever the advertisers want to go after. So they chose Elizabeth Smart. Why? Because people, wealthy white America in the suburbs is who buys Lexuses and who goes on Carnival Cruises. And they just thought that Elizabeth Smart sort of would connect with them more. So I don't even know. I don't even think we know anything about this Milwaukee girl. It's found dead or whatever. Who knows? But the Elizabeth Smart story became a thing. Is that right? No, because it's just another example of how our media is entirely dependent on the cash register. Their desire to inform us while they are using our airwaves. See, the trade-off is they have to do news to inform us because we are letting them use our airwaves. They are no longer trying to inform us. They're trying to keep us in our seats so that we sit through commercials. And the news that they give us, the information we're being fed, is representative of that motivation. you can extrapolate out and you can say, are the results of this racist, and does it affect? Yeah, of course it is. But that's not the initial intent. That's just the byproduct of it. The initial intent is to be, I don't know, what's the term for classist? That's what it is. It's classist. They'll sell a Carnival Cruise Line to a black attorney in the suburb. They don't have a problem with that. But it's not about color. It's about money. And Elizabeth Smart was who they deemed would connect with the people they want watching, the people who buy Lexuses and who buy Carnival Cruise Line. That's how media is run, and that's my big problem with mainstream media. They're not racist, they're not liberal. They're liberal or they're right. No, they're not. They are whatever their sales department in the constructed demographic that they are pursuing, whatever they say they are, that's what they are. And it has nothing to do with what matters to us, which are individual issues or, who's, that terrible person who just moved in down the block. It's nothing to do with that. It has to do with who do the advertisers want watching. Let's go after the people our advertisers are paying us to go after. Who buys Lexuses? Who goes on Carnival Cruise Lines? All right, there you have it. Anyway, happy birthday to Elizabeth Smart. What a beautiful little lady. And it's not her fault that she got chosen. I'm glad she was found. And what a crazy situation that was. 9 months. Oh, by the way, the other thing I learned about her? They could have found her like 3 months in. Like 3 months in, she was found and spoke to a detective. She didn't spoke to a. Here, listen to this bullshit. So they're in the Brian Mitchell, Ishmael, the prophet, which is what he thought he was. They wore white robes everywhere. It was him, Wanda Barzee, who was his girlfriend. It was Brian Mitchell, Wanda Barzee, and Elizabeth Smart. And they're walking around in plain sight all over Salt Lake City, going to a library. And she's wearing a veil, like Elizabeth Smart's wearing a veil. But she does catch the attention of the librarian, who is looking at Elizabeth Smart's eyes underneath the veil. And she decides to call the police. And she says, I think I got this Elizabeth Smart here in the library. You need to get down here. So a detective shows up immediately, who's working the case. He shows up. And he confronts Brian Mitchell, Wanda Barzee, and Elizabeth Smart in the library. And he says he demands to see the girl, Elizabeth Smart. And guess what? Brian Mitchell said, no, you can't see her. And he said, I need to speak to the girl. And Brian Mitchell said, no, it's my daughter. You can't speak to her. It's a religious thing, you see. You see, she wasn't allowed to take her veil off because she was in public. And she wasn't allowed to speak to the police officer because according to their religion, a woman is not allowed to speak to a man in public. And the cop had to accept it. The cop had to accept it. And he walked out and he went, oh, fucking religious liberty. And he turned around and he walked out and Elizabeth Smart got raped every night for the next 6 months after that. So, and yeah, she was. That's the details. She was raped extensively by this weird guy multiple times daily. Little poor 14-year-old girl. Jesus. He's got life in prison. Life in prison. By the way, Wanda Barzee, the woman who Elizabeth Smart describes as the most evil woman to ever walk the earth. I mean, I don't know. There's probably some worse. But she's probably bad. Wanda Barzee's out. She's out of prison. She got out. Yeah, let her go. She did her time. The other dude got life. Brian Mitchell. Ishmael, the prophet. That's it. That's the last. That's the one. That's the last of the birthdays. All right, now let's move into the deads. These are the people who've died. These are the people who've died. Let's run through a list of people who've passed away on this day and decide based on our own understanding of what it takes to get into heaven or hell. That's where they are. Dead on this day in 1926. How about Annie Oakley? Pachoo, pachoo. Cowboy lady. Hung out with. Now, okay, so again, this is where it all gets confusing because there's all these cowboy things. I told you the other day how I confuse Buffalo Bill with Wild Bill Hickok. Well, they're very similar. They're very similar dudes. They knew each other. They're very similar. But also, you see, this chick, Annie Oakley, Annie Oakley was with Buffalo Bill. It was Buffalo Bill and Annie Oakley. So Buffalo Bill, the legend of Buffalo Bill, he's got this chick who's going against type, because remember, women back then weren't, right? There wasn't, so she was against type. So one of the interesting things about Buffalo Bill is that he pals around with this lady cowboy, Annie Oakley. But Wild Bill Hickok had the same thing with Calamity Jane. It was Wild Bill Hickok and Calamity Jane. And then on the other side, then you had Buffalo Bill Cody and Annie Oakley. Annie Oakley died today. I'm watching Deadwood. And so although that doesn't focus on Annie Oakley, it does focus on Calamity Jane. Annie Oakley died on this day. And I just have to believe after watching Deadwood that anybody who took a breath during that time is in hell. Those were some of the worst. Well, if you watch Deadwood, with the exception of Seth Bullock. Seth Bullock's a good guy. Charlie Utter's a good guy too. Saul Starr, for sure, Saul Starr. Anyway, my point is this. I'm putting Annie Oakley in hell because I'm sure she did some really bad stuff because doing bad stuff was the norm back then. Born on this day in 1920, or dead on this day in 1926, Annie Oakley, she's in hell. Dead on this day in 1993. How about this? Oh, I'll get rid of Elizabeth Smart. Sorry. Dead on this day in 1993. How about a guy by the name of Leon Theremin? Do you know who Leon Theremin is? Leon Theremin was a Russian physicist and an engineer, and he was working with radio and sound waves, and he accidentally created the coolest instrument in the history of cool instruments. Yeah, the theremin. Now, the other day we talked about the theremin on the Radio Misfits show. Hold on. Stupid commercial. I want to play you something. We were just talking about the theremin on the radio show, the Radio Misfits show that we do at 9 o'clock, the stream that we do with myself and James Parker. James had never heard of theremin before. So I was like, oh, you want to hear the theremin? Okay, so here, this guy. We're deciding if this guy's going to heaven or hell. Here he is. This is what he invented. Remember, he was doing other things. He was trying to do things with sound waves and stuff, and he accidentally screwed around and invented this cool ass thing. Here you go, the theremin. I want to learn to play a theremin. All right. Theremin solo. Now, famously, the Beach Boys used the theremin. Phil Spector loved to use the theremin. Other rock bands have used the theremin. But where do we know the theremin from mostly? Every creepy ass scary movie. That's right. That's that sound. That's that creepy ass sound. So I'm telling you, Leon Theremin is going to heaven. Because that's a cool ass noise he learned or invented. Columbus did. He dick tripped into this musician, this instrument, and then people were like, hey, we can make something with that. All right, Leon Theremin, dead on this day in 1993. He's going to heaven. Dead on this day in 2018, Sandra Locke. Sandra Locke, American actress and director. Sandra Locke was famous because she was Clint Eastwood's girl, and she was in a bunch of Clint Eastwood's 70s and 80s films. Whenever he needed someone to play his girl, it was always Sandra Locke. I don't know. Let's put her in heaven. I got no take on Sandra Locke. She seems fine. It's probably somebody's mom. She seemed nice. Is there any horrible stories about? It's not like, well, when they got to her, she was a real bitch to Clinton. You don't hear any of that. All right, Sandra Locke. There we go, folks. Look at us. We have gone through 1, 2, 3 quarters of today's show, and we are ready to move into the big part. That's right. Quarter 4 is right on the horizon. I would, however, like to thank once again Mama B for being today's executive producer. Love you, Mama B. Thank you so much. We are $60 short of our goal for the week, but like I said, man, even if we don't make it, and I don't know, I'm okay. Well, if we don't make it, point is this. Wow. I didn't think we'd get this close. I really didn't. So thank you guys very much. If you're so moved to maybe get us over that line, fine. You can drop whatever you want. As we do, we push on the last week of the month, and then I just mentioned. So we're going to dial it back. So thank you, folks. Thank you to everybody who got us through this month. Especially thank you to Mama B, who dropped a little something for us. And look at me. I'm looking at Peter. I'm looking at Jeff. I'm looking at Barney. I'm looking at Raw. You guys are all responsible. Oh, my God. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome, but also you're a bunch of pack of wild D-bags. Oh, speaking of, I had this funny situation. Okay, so D-bags. Where's Adam? Where's Adam? I'm going to reference Adam because this just reminded me of something. I was kind of proud of myself. I was like, it's pretty good. So I watched on PBS. There is I don't. Do you guys watch American Experience on PBS? It's PBS, right? What am I, like some elitist D-bag? No, but they have interesting documentaries, and they do really interesting subjects about the American experience, about things that have occurred, and they do so it's a weekly series. It's been on for like 50 years, right? American Experience on PBS. So anyway, the most recent one on Tuesday, I record all of them. Sometimes they're terribly boring. We take a look at the fight for polio vaccinations in New York City public schools in 1935 for the next hour. No thanks, right? Like a lot of times it's stuff like that. So you got to weed through it. Every now and again, there's something really cool. Like every once in a, like there was something, it was a really cool one that aired this week, the most recent episode of American Experience. If you have access to it, it should be on your PBS. If you got a PBS app on demand or something, it's called is it called The War on Disco? Or is it called The Death of Disco? I think it's called The War on Disco. And it's really good. It's really interesting and it's fun. And anyway, there's my guy, Adam. So Adam and I made a joke comment about Steve Dahl, who is he's a radio icon, first ballot Hall of Famer, that whole thing. But I made a comment that I basically quoted the documentary on the war on disco on PBS, where this Black culture's historian, this young girl, she's probably in her 30s, but she looked young to me. But she was listed as, historian or whatever. And she made the offhanded comment that it was because of the way that disco began to be treated in the mainstream. At some point in 1979, disco was everywhere. It was everywhere, and it was being crammed down people's throats. And she made the comment that it was because of the actions of Steve Dahl and his radio promotion, the disco demolition, that disco was suddenly uncool again, coast to coast. And it started to be something that people rolled their eyes at. Oh, disco, because it was played out. And she made the offhanded comment that disco, because of that, was forced into the underground, where it reemerged a few years later in Chicago as house music. And then she said, so indirectly, and this is a Black historian on this, she goes, indirectly, Steve Dahl is responsible for the rise of house music. And I thought that was funny. And so I commented on that. I think I said that myself. I said, my takeaway from that was my take. That's exactly what my tweet was. Just watched The War on Disco. My takeaway is that Steve Dahl is responsible for house music. Now, those of you who know me know that I'm like a house music freak. I don't talk about it a lot because there's like me and 10 other people that I know on this planet who are into house music. Skin. It's one of the things that Skin and I always talk about. Anyway, my point is this. So I made that comment, and then I got myself into like a house music war, or I saw it becoming a house music war. Adam made a statement that is completely wrong, but it's okay. I understand how, if your information is based on recent documentaries about the situation, yes, the history, the way it's being told, is incorrect. It's just incorrect. So Adam called Steve Dahl a homophobe, and I was like, what? You mean the guy who was the first person to build a float in the Chicago Gay Pride Parade in the 80s and was loved by that community is now a homophobe? The guy who fought for, and by the way, any of you people in Chicago who are listening now, you guys know how he fought for Diver Dan? Diver Dan, as a 12-year-old kid, Diver Dan was the first openly gay man in any form of media. He couldn't get a job anywhere else because he was openly gay. No, Steve had the #1 morning show in the entire Midwest, and he said, fuck you, Dan, he's my guy. And he made Dan cool, talking about the gay lifestyle and what he was doing. He made it, for me, a 12-year-old who was probably a little bigot because I didn't know anything, and it was 1979, but Steve Dahl, the way he treated Diver Dan made me go, oh my God. And so anyway, this whole thing, Steve throughout his career has been like really cool with that community, and he's been very progressive and all of this stuff. So for me to see Adam say that, it kind of triggered me. I'm like, oh, fuck this, man. This is what old people complain about, history and revisionism and all this stuff. And that's because the modern generation, looking back at the disco phenomenon, phenomena has sort of come to this idea that it was about black and it was about gay. Now, I can tell you as somebody who was a kid there and who listened to the morning after Disco Demolition and who watched that White Sox game and saw the live coverage as a little kid with my grandpa. I mean, I saw that Disco Demolition thing happen. It was a huge thing for me. It was greatest radio promotion in history. The reason Kelly and I did huge radio promotions is because we saw what Steve did. We came up under it. Kelly was Steve's personal assistant for a number of years. So anyway, point is this. It's sort of now the narrative is that the disco fell apart and became uncool because of racism and homophobia. And that is just not true. Disco Demolition was not about, first of all, Disco Demolition was about the Bee Gees. It wasn't about any of the black acts. It wasn't about the Gap Band or the Ohio Players. It was about the Bee Gees. It was about, by 1979, disco had come. Every suburb had a strip mall, again, next to a nail salon that used to be the corner bar that was now a disco. And everybody who went to that bar had to dress disco, and they had the velvet ropes. Disco by 79 had made its way into the suburbs. It was no longer a black or gay thing, although the origins might be where they came. That's where they came. But what thing that is cool or successful didn't originate from black or gay culture? The pushback of Disco Demolition had nothing to do with anti-gay or anti-black. It had to do with anti-elitisms and douchebags who wore big collars and velvet ropes and did cocaine off of spoons. That's what they were making fun of, not gay culture. But 30 years later, a kid who studies it starts reading books, and I can see how it gets changed, but I was there. So anyway, my whole point with Adam on the house music thing is that he brought in a dude that's a friend of his who's a house music guy, and the house music guy said some stuff about Ron Hardy and all that. Pretty true. And I just saw it, and this is how I am on Twitter now. I saw this and I thought, you know what? I bet this is a cool guy. I know Adam's a cool guy, and I know Adam's kind of a troll. I bet this is a cool guy. And what am I going to do now? What is the expectation of me? To get into some fucking flame war on Twitter over house music with some guy that I don't even know? So I took a different approach. I just said, hey, look, dude, you seem like you know what you're talking about. Maybe we could talk about this over beers, but I don't do this on Twitter anymore. And I felt really good about that. Seems like a nice guy. But I got a little bit of a backhand in there. I go, it seems like you're a real student. Suggesting that I'm not a fucking student because I carried records for the Hot Mix 5. I'm not a fucking student because I worked with Maurice Joshua. I'm not a fucking student because I was at the warehouse in the power plant. I've been to the Smart Bar for house music nights. I'm not a fucking student because I'm 54 years old, and God damn it, give me some credit for being at least one place where something cool was happening. I was there. I saw it. I understood it. That's house music. The disco thing, I was much younger. But yes, and I do agree, house music does owe itself entirely to disco. And I do believe that it was because disco became lame. It became disco duck. Disco became fucking lame, man. That's what the pushback was. It wasn't about the gays are doing it. You weren't allowed to be gay in 1979. Nobody knew the Village People were gay. Seriously, they didn't. I know you do, born in 1985 and realizing this in 2015, they were obviously gay. People in 1979 weren't like, that's a gay group. People knew it. They were out, but nobody understood it. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a secret that they were gay. They were from the Village, but it wasn't promoted. When they're on The Tonight Show, it wasn't like, and now a gay group on The Tonight Show. Your grandma didn't see the Village People and go, I hate gay music. No, your grandma saw the Village People like my grandma did and went, this is fun. Had no idea it was gay because it was 1979 and that wasn't the same kind of front and center issue that it is today. So no, the war on disco on PBS is really good, but it is not about anti-gay or and this PBS documentary with all these experts even sort of say that. They're like, look, let's not let history turn this into something that it's not. This was about douchebag guys in white John Travolta suits who weren't the rock guys in the blue jeans and the t-shirt. It was definitely a class war, but it wasn't about sexual orientation or anything like that. All right, that's it. I just wanted to go on that little rant because Adam, I thought that was a nice exchange. I thought me and Adam's friend had a nice exchange. It didn't end in fights, and Try to lead by example. That's how I'm trying to be on Twitter and social media now. I don't want to fight. What are we fighting about? I don't know. It's ridiculous to me, the concept that I'm going to like meet somebody for the first time on social media and we have an opposing view, and that's the only reason that we're meeting right now. So what are we, a couple of fucking rams? We're going to lock horns? Who wins that? That's dumb. That's negative energy. I don't want that. Adam says he's a cool guy. He's probably a cool guy. I might like to be his friend on some other, timeline, but I'm not going to fight strangers on Twitter. I hate that. That's why I've never done that. No offense, Adam, but that's a bitch move when you fucking link somebody else into it. Hey, at so-and-so, look at what he said. Come on, don't do that, man, because now you're just pulling people in to start fights. You're creating negativity where you could have created optimism. You could have been I will say this, though. I will say this about Adam. He's not going to want to hear this because I don't mean it to be patronizing. But I have noticed having children has softened Adam Reyna. It really has. Adam Reyna has, Byron's got a problem with Adam now. You should have seen him 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Oh, he was insufferable. This is why I liked him. We all need these elements. All right, let's move on. Let's get into all the things that are happening today. Ranger Parade. We got a Ranger Parade going on. Who's at the Ranger Parade? Adam says, I'm not a bitch. Not a bitch move. He knows what he's talking about. Yeah, but see, here's where I get really fucking upset. So do I, okay? And now you've got two people who are immovable forces and the nuance of a real debate, an honest interaction and sharing of ideas. No, Adam, I'm sorry. He doesn't know more than I do. He doesn't. And I know that you probably believe that. Unless he was there. Unless he DJ'd with Maurice Joshua at the Heartthrob Cafe, unless he carried and lugged shit with Jammin' G in the Hot Mix 5. No, Adam, he doesn't have first-hand expertise. I do. So he seems like a lovely guy, and I would love to talk to him. I'm sure I can fill in a lot of his gray areas. That was awesomely condescending. No, I'm kidding. That's me being I don't want to be. This guy seems nice. Let's do a stream. Let's invite him. Let's do. I will get George Jammin' G. I will get Jammin' G, who's one of the original and biggest house music DJs from the 80s in Chicago, who's one of my lifelong friends. I'll get G on. We'll get Skin. And then we'll talk to this guy. And Adam, you can try and pit us against each other. But I promise you, we're going to turn on you. As soon as everybody looks around the room and understands that, wow, okay, these people, two of them were there. Two of them are just scholars on the subject. And I'm Adam, trying to get these guys to fight each other. He's older than you, started the Dallas house scene. Cool, the Dallas house scene. The well-known Dallas house scene. Fuck. Please. Let's stop it. Anyway, it was I chose a nice way to end it, and now I'm having some fun because we're streaming and stream of consciousness, and I've opened a can of worms, and I don't want to do this. But I would. That is an actual great idea. I would like to have a conversation about that because that's a music scene. That's a music scene that is important. Certainly, if you talk about the power of hip hop and the influence of hip hop and culture and all that stuff. But it's really, it's something that America outside of the South Side of Chicago, I know there's the famous Dallas scene, but outside of the South Side of Chicago, it didn't really take off. It crossed the river and went to the Smart Bar and places like that. I think it was at Excalibur. They had cool house nights there. But the real clubs were on the South Side. It had to go to London. It had to go all the way to London because nobody in America really gave a shit about it. And now 20-something years later, 30, 40 years later in some cases. Yeah. Was at the Heartthrob Cafe, hanging out with Maurice Joshua. When his brother Xavier came running in with the brand new pressing of something that would change house music. This is Acid, which is considered the cornerstone, the beginning, the jumping off point of the acid house movement. I was there at the Heartthrob Cafe when they played This Is Acid for the first time. And I remember thinking, it's kind of the same thing for 12 minutes, but okay. What is he doing? Is this what we're going to be? I'm just going to argue with Adam about whether or not. And here's the other thing. It's like, okay, so Ron Hardy was a gay man. Ron Hardy came from New York. He came from the bathhouse scene in New York. He was a gay man. And he brought this kind of music from New York. Didn't even really, if you want to go to the true origin of house music, it was in the New York City gay bathhouse scene. Ron Hardy brought that to the south side of Chicago. And he took it to a club called the Warehouse, where he was given one night a week to do this gay dance house. And that's what it was. The original house music night at the Warehouse in Chicago, the original Warehouse on Jefferson in Chicago, was a gay night. Now, the music he was playing was so cool that the other 6 nights of the week that the Warehouse is open, they invited Ron to start playing. So again, house music it was born from the gay scene and from the black scene in the streets and all that kind of stuff. But that's what thing that's cool didn't start that way. Rock and roll, everything started that way. Point is this: it was quickly embraced by a larger population of people who neither exclusively defined themselves as either gay or black or whatever. It was just a thing, and it was a thing that was there on the south side of Chicago. It felt like it was our thing. And then we got our own radio station. One of the biggest stations in Chicago went all house, BMX. When BMX just did not, it was. And then all of our friends, all of our DJs started getting on BMX. And then they started a group, the Hot Mix 5. And then suddenly the Hot Mix 5 became like the biggest band. Imagine the most popular local band. They became like the biggest band in Chicago. Holy shit. You going to see the Hot Mix 5 tonight? Yeah, where are they at? They're at Gazander's, or wherever. It was cool. So, look, I got a lot of good memories about that stuff. And maybe I'm just a little bit touchy about what, I have no expertise in anything. Mini golf, judging people, and maybe the fact that I was in both the Wicker Park scene in Chicago for the rise of alternative music of the mid-90s and the house music scene, the club DJ scene of Chicago between, say, 1986 and 1992. That's when I got into radio. But I was there. Okay, moving on. Rangers Parade. Can we do this now? Question: is Big Audio Dynamite house? No, not. Certainly house influenced. Mick Jones loves house music, but Mick Jones was introduced to house music through the London channels of house music. It's, they discovered it in London and what the guys in London were doing with their rave scenes and all that kind of stuff. And then they went back and discovered, Julian Jumpin' Perez. Then they went, it was Hot Mix Henderson, all these people who were the originator, Ron Hardy, aforementioned. All right. I'll drop Maurice and Xavier Joshua again because they're the ones that I knew the best. This is Acid. That's right. Close personal friends with the guy who is considered the cornerstone of the acid house music. That's right. Heartthrob Cafe. That's where it first debuted. And by the way, the Heartthrob Cafe is in Orland Park, Illinois, in a mall. Yeah, it's a mall club. In a white upper-class mall, too, by the way. Rangers Parade. Were we there for the Rangers Parade? Who was there? Anybody? I was watching here. Let's do this. Let's look at some of the pictures. We'll scroll through the Twitter on the Rangers Parade and see. See anybody got some cool stuff. You know what I did see? Here, I saw something that was like a drone shot of the parade route. And, man, what is going on with Arlington? They're doing this drone shot of, that part of Arlington, the Wet and Wild, Six Flag, multiple stadiums, shopping malls, whatever part of Arlington where it's like Midtown Manhattan. You're in Arlington, Texas, and then suddenly you're in Midtown Manhattan. It is such a crazy piece of urban planning. But this drone shot that I saw earlier today, maybe I can find it here. Oh my God, was so cool. I don't know who built up Arlington in the last, say, 25 years or so, but oh my God. Seriously, Arlington is a badass. Remember when Arlington used to be a joke? We used to make fun of Arlington. All right, let's look here. Arlington is no joke, kids. Gorgeous. Looks like Vegas. When you stand out in front of Globe Life after a game, especially a night game, looks like Vegas. Looks like you're either standing in Times Square or Vegas, and you're in Arlington, Texas. All right, here we go. Here's the first one. Look at that. The Las Vegas Sphere. They went in Spear? No, it's here. Sphere. The Las Vegas Sphere. Went all Texas Ranger. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, isn't it? That thing's pretty cool. I mean, look, everything in Vegas is cool. But this is the latest cool thing in Vegas. This Sphere. All right, let's see. What else do we have? Any pictures from the parade? Because, all right, here's some parade pictures. All right, what are we looking at here? Nice crowd. I love it. Look at that, just a collection of stadiums. A stadium on the left, a stadium on the right. There's a stadium behind them. They're building an office tower. Oh, my God. Look at this chick here. She put the makeup on today, boy. She got herself all gussied. All right. What else we got here pictures-wise? I'm trying to see if we got that. I want to find that cool video. People winning. All right, you know what? There's a lot of stuff we got to get to today. But look, how about them Rangers? I mean, what more can I say? I mean, I want to keep going with the Rangers. I don't have the enthusiasm for the Rangers today that I had for house music 5 minutes ago. And here's why. I'm Ranger exhausted. It was great. I was laying there on the couch watching the footage from the parade, and I'm like, oh, man, this is great. Look at these guys having fun. But okay, all right. So now, here's what I did like. I did like seeing the owner talk about how this team is built to win multiple championships, and I think they might be. Because let me tell you, this team is way ahead of schedule. Now, here's the question. Here's the problem. Should this team, the way it appears now, being ahead of schedule as it is, could this team possibly contend for the next 3 to 5 years? Sure it could. Sure it could. But will they? And why wouldn't they? Here's where we get it. They're not hungry anymore, man. They're champions. They are champions now. And this is why it's so hard to repeat. They are champions. Unless you've got like some psychopath like Michael Jordan or Tom Brady, some just like competitive weirdo psychopath who nobody likes. And that doesn't appear to be the case with the Rangers because these guys all seem to be really likable winners. Just like normal garden variety superstar normal winners. Not like, competitively retarded the way Michael Jordan or Tom Brady is. That's kind of out there. So maybe they can. Maybe leaders like Seager and Simeon. Maybe they can. Maybe they can keep a hold on this team. God, that'd be great. How great would a Ranger dynasty be? Because it's possible. You're gonna get. Okay. So this is a crazy, insane reality that we could see as Ranger fans. So let's say the Rangers are competitive all next season. They're the defending World Series champion. They're going to be good. Nobody's going to be sleeping on us anymore, though. They're going to see us coming because we wave that big banner and, waving our rings over everybody's noses. So they're going to see us coming. So it's going to be harder, but that's okay because it's a good team. They're going to win anyway. So the Rangers are going to be really competitive, and they're going to crank out the season and should be, by my timeline, with my extensive experience watching this bullshit procedure, right around mid-August, maybe? And I don't know, you hardcore Ranger people, you might be following this closer, but right around mid-August is where Jacob deGrom should start throwing again. So you could have Jacob deGrom back for the end of the season, for any kind of he's not gonna be in spring training. He's too important to rush the Tommy John. The Chicago White Sox let Michael Kopech sit 2.5 years because he was deemed too important to rush the Tommy John. So no, they're gonna take their time. But think about that. Think about just when everybody's exhausted and oh my God, Can't believe we're winning with bullpen days because our starting arms are gassed. Right about that time, the Rangers could be like, oh, yeah, Jacob's here. Hey, Jake, you want to take the hill? Go ahead. Get out there. That's a good thing. Adam says he doesn't expect him to 2025. Yeah, that's a real possibility, too. That is a real possibility, too. However, what changes that possibility, Adam, is that Rangers are now a World Series team. Like, I think Jacob deGrom looked at the Rangers as a team. You know, when Jacob deGrom went down for the year, I don't think Jacob deGrom thought the Rangers were going to win the World Series. There's a part of him that's probably pretty upset. It's got to be. I mean, you would think, right? So he may want to come in. He may be the guy. Now, if there was no chance of the Rangers doing anything next year, then yeah, I could see him going, no, I'm not going to rush it. Jacob deGrom wants to be on the hill in a big postseason game. He wants to be a World Series. He wants to win, you know. So I don't know. He could rush it. But you're right. 2025 is not out of the question. Absolutely. Missing a full season and a half or a full season and 3/4. Normal. That's normal. It's the guys who are not top line, high leverage types. It's the guy who's maybe a bullpen arm or the guy who's maybe a third or fourth much traveled starter, you know, that kind of guy. That's the guy that gets back in 18 months. That's the guy that gets back in 12 months because because he needs a new contract. Jacob deGrom don't need to rush it. Jacob deGrom needs to do everything that is best for Jacob deGrom's arm, and that's probably what he's going to do. So 2025 is possible, but come on. I mean, think of the temptation that he would have. He could either set a goal of end of regular season next year, post All-Star break, maybe early August, to start throwing a practice game or something like that. He could be targeting that. Or he could be going, 2025. I think today, watching the parade, I think he's like, no, I'm targeting end of the season next year because we can make a run. Anyway, it's fun to think about. The good news is that this Ranger team is not going anywhere. We're going to be around. We got a good baseball team now, so deal with it. We don't have a good baseball team. You got the best baseball team in the world. Although I think that Japanese team that won the World Baseball Classic could beat the Rangers. I'm just saying, it's an all-star team of other players from Major League Baseball, all of them Japanese. No, actually, there aren't a bunch of them like in the Japanese leagues. But whatever, they were good. And it's an all-star team. It's not fair. Although it's not a traditional all-star team because that Japanese team that won the World Baseball, I read an article about this, about how people think they practice too much. Except how are you going to claim that when Ohtani's over here? It's not like Ohtani practiced with them every day, but they're saying, no, they're like a real team. They're not like an exhibition team thrown together a couple of months before, the way all the other countries are. Japan has a real national team, and they play games all year round. Whatever. So did the Rangers. Rangers played 162. In a postseason. And guess what happened? Jobs report is out. That's another big thing that's trending today. Jobs report, they're saying 150,000 jobs were added last month. That is not as high as expectations. So, but what do I tell you about this stuff? Tell you when they say jobs are up. I say, nah, shut up. How much does a 2-liter bottle of soda cost? That's how much is a gallon of gas. What am I paying for a loaf of bread? Don't tell me that you're doing a great job because the non-farm economy added 300,000 jobs in October. Don't tell me that. I don't care about that. That's not something that means nothing. Get on here and tell me that you're forcing Wholesome and Wonder Bread to drop the prices of their loaves. Tell me that, because that's the kind of shit that'll get me to vote for you. I don't give a crap about your spin on economic numbers that I'm too dumb to understand how they relate to me anyway. Jobs, there you go. Speaker Johnson is in the news. Mike Johnson, the new speaker. Remember what I told you? What was that here? Oh. No, that's not it. That's not a good example. Remember what I told you? Mike Johnson, sure. They're going to vote for this guy. They're going to vote for this guy because nobody knows who this dude is. Nobody has anything to say about this guy because nobody knows who he is. Everybody that was getting knocked down in their candidacy for the Speaker of the House, everybody was getting knocked down because they'd said something on Fox News that somebody else didn't like. And it was Mike Johnson. Nope. Remember I told you, we got two kinds of people in Congress. We got the messengers. Those are the people we all hate. Those are the Ocasio-Cortezes, the Gateses, the Marjorie Taylor Greens. And then you've got the legislators. You got the people who are actually trying to push bills and they're writing bills and all that stuff. Those people we don't know. Remember, 400-something people in the House of Representatives. We only know like 20 of them. And most of us don't even know who our representative is. I don't know who my representative is here in Highland Park. I assume it's the Monopoly guy. I know my representative in Chicago. I know it's Robin Kelly. I like Robin Kelly. Robin Kelly seems good. She seems solid. She's another legislator. Robin Kelly is not a messenger. She's not on TV going, culture wars. She's not stirring up people 1,000 miles away from her congressional district. For what reason, I have no idea. But that's what's happening. So Mike Johnson, he didn't have any kind of history. We didn't know anything about him. Well, we're starting. I told you. I said, give it a week. Give it a week, and all of a sudden people are going to be like, he's the worst possible speaker in history. He don't like gays. We know that. Watched a video of him from a couple of years ago talking about gays. He wasn't afraid to say it. He don't like them. He don't believe in it. He don't. So that's what we got. So gay people should have some concerns about the new Speaker of the House. Because he don't like you. That's all I got. And it's not even debatable. He doesn't, look, I don't know anything else about him. I don't know his policies, whatever. But as far as that particular culture war issue about our tolerance for people of alternative lifestyles, he ain't having it. So we know that about him. And everybody's trying to push that now. Here's another story. There was some talk about the draft. We mentioned this the other day. I was talking about the draft. Will the draft be brought back? And if the draft is brought back, well, here, let me... First of all, the draft ain't coming back in peacetime. Something incredibly bad would have to happen. There would have to be some sort of World War III action going on for us to need to draft people. Bring back the draft. I do like the draft in so much as it does seem more ecumenical. Everybody's going to get drafted. Right now, since 1970, when did they end the draft? 75 or something like that. And right now, since the ending of the draft, the all-volunteer military, the United States of America has fought a number of wars and waged a bunch of campaigns, and it's all been done on a purely volunteer military, which I think we're all good with, right? I mean, I think we're like, yeah, okay, fine. If that's all it takes, if that's all we need, then good, a purely volunteer military. But now let's take a step back and let's look at what that really means. What else does that mean? Who volunteers? Why are people volunteering for the military? Well, because there's benefits in it. They're dangling a carrot. You get your free you get your military housing. You get yourself one of them VA mortgages, whatever. When you get out, you get yourself your college paid for. So that's the carrot they're dangling. So our military is just filled with a bunch of people who were enticed because they were needy, because they needed something. In other words, our military is a class military. Our military is ruled by officers who come from the gentry, if you will. And then our wars are fought by grunts. Our wars are fought by blue-collar, middle, rural, low-income, poor Americans. The rich people kids don't die in wars anymore. That's the one thing I would say about the draft, is that it might make that even. Even though, well, he bought his way out. Right, some will, but not all will. We'll get enough. We'll get enough of them. Make them go to war if you're going to make the rest of us go to war. Bring back the draft. A divisive home front battle will loom over any major new war, and the top concern will be the status of the draft. Is the U.S. on the cusp of a three-front world war against Russia, Iran, and China? If such a seismic event were to occur, would our nation's 50-year-old all-volunteer force require a boost from, dare I even say it, a reinstatement of the draft? January of 73 is when the draft was ended, the abolition of the draft. Look, I don't like the sound of this because I got a 14-year-old kid. I got a 14-year-old meathead who would probably volunteer anyway. He's like, let's go. I'm like, no. Come on, son, sit down. Let's watch Platoon straight into Full Metal Jacket. And then let's see if you still want to go down there and sign up. Can we fight wars with robots? Where are we with the robot warriors? Isn't that a thing? I saw that on Star Wars like 20 years ago. You telling me that nobody went, hey, that's a good idea. Let's build robot warriors. I don't know. draft. Moving on. Smoking. This is a funny story. This is a funny story because it's just, again, do you know what one of, okay, so I don't do politics. Don't like to do politics. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not a Trump guy. I'm not a Biden guy. I'm a moderate. I lean progressive in my societal views, maybe a bit more conservative fiscally and in those economic views, but whatever. I'm where most of us are. I don't give a shit about gay dudes or men wearing dresses. I don't care. That's not important to me. Whatever. Do what you want. Liberty and all that. So I don't like to do politics, but this story stuck with me because all right. I'm not going to say anything mean. I'll say Biden's so cute. He's so cute. You know, one of his big things that Biden is trying to do. Well, this is what I'm telling you, gang. No, seriously, gang. Seriously, listen up. This is important. You know, like one of his big important things is he's trying to get menthol cigarettes banned because he thinks menthol cigarettes are marketing directly to kids. And he's trying to stop kids from smoking. This fucking guy still thinks it's 1984. Does he not know that kids don't smoke? And that's what this story is about here. Youth smoking is at 0%. So 0%. That means, let's say there's 1 million youths out there. If there's 1 million youths, and I know there's more, I'm just using that as a round number. If there's 1 million youths out there that they looked at this survey with, 1 million youths, 15 of them are smokers. That's how you get a 0 in one of these stuff. So they did the poll to determine how many young people are smoking because of this menthol ban thing that Biden is pushing as, come on, kids, we got to save these youngsters. They're going to start smoking these menthol. They taste like candy canes. You know, he's like a delusional. This is a nutty topic. Stop it. Move away. Move away from this. Nobody's smoking menthol cigarettes. Nobody's smoking cigarettes. That's the point. Youth smoking near 0. And then there's a side story here. It says Biden still wants to ban menthol to protect kids. That's a separate story that just popped up with it, but isn't that funny? New data from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. So this is just from our own government. This is from him, his side. These are his people. Remember, he's trying to ban men. Come on, gang. Come on. Let's make sure that none of these kids are smoking out in front of the bike shop or the arcade. What year do you think it is, Joe Biden? New data from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention show youth smoking at a historic low. Let's see here. With just 1.9% of high schoolers lighting up in the past month. So in the past month, just 1.9, and that's just that means lighting. That means trying. That means somebody tried one once at a party. Kids don't smoke. They do not smoke. Go hang out in front of a 7-Eleven. Nah, don't do that because shit, I'll call the police on you. When you go to 7-Eleven, get and go. You can spend, what's the rule? Because I've done that before where you sit in your car after being in a 7-Eleven and you're on your phone or something. And then you think, Jesus, I've been sitting here for 10 minutes. This looks strange. I should go. 5 minutes. I think you should be allowed 5 minutes. Anyway, point is this. When you're at the 7-Eleven, you don't see kids like 12-year-olds. When was the last time you saw a 12-year-old smoking a cigarette? Nope. They don't even know what they are. You ever seen a kid try and open a can with like a can opener, an old-timey crank? They can't do it. They don't know. That's what cigarette smoking is to them. They don't get it. New data from the Center for Disease Control shows that youth smoking is at a historic low. 1.9% only of high schoolers lighted up in the past month. Youth vaping is also at its lowest level in a decade at just 10%. So 10% of youths are vaping. Much of that is smoking weed. See, this is that cloudy overlap area that grown-ups don't really understand yet. They think that when they see that kid smoking that vape pen, it's like, well, he's just addicted to nicotine and I didn't want him to smoke, but at least he's not burning up his lungs with those cigarettes. Vaping is better. He's getting high, Mom. You don't know what kind of vape that is because they all smell the same. They're all... It used to be your teenagers would get high and you could smell it. You could smell it from a block away. Somebody smoking weed in this neighborhood. You know that. It carries in the wind. It's a pungent smell. That used to be the way that parents knew their kids were getting high. Not anymore. Kids are all vaping. It's all vape, and it doesn't smell like anything. And guess what? The smoke doesn't linger. It doesn't get in your clothes. It doesn't get in the carpet. You don't walk into a room where someone's just been vaping THC and go, "Who's smoking weed in here?" Right? Like the way you do. No. So, man, that's what kids are doing. So that's probably a good percentage of the 10% who are actually vaping. A lot of them are just getting high. It says here, it's good news from a public health standpoint, but the data raises questions regarding, here, they're actually mentioning the Biden thing, but the data raises questions regarding the Biden administration's plan to ban menthol cigarettes and flavored cigars. A key argument for prohibition is that menthol cigarettes and flavored cigars appeal to the youth, especially black youth. So that's the argument. Hey, gang, these menthol cigarettes are appealing to young people. Mr. President, we just got some new numbers on youth smoking, and they don't smoke. I mean, this is a dumb thing for him to be championing. All you're doing is banning something. What, you banning something because you want to ban something? Let's see here. A key argument for prohibition is that menthol cigarettes and flavored cigars appeal to youth, especially black youth. By the way, the flavored cigars, nobody's buying flavored cigars to smoke them. God, adults are so dumb. Kids don't buy Swisher Sweets or maybe white kids in the suburbs who are doing poker nights. They'll actually smoke Swisher Sweets. The vast majority of those cigars that are bought are cracked open. The tobacco is removed. It's filled with weed, and then it's re-rolled as a joint. That's why kids are buying. Again, this is weed. This is not about cigarettes. Kids don't smoke. Cigarette smoking is over with. Isn't it weird? Like it's like a white buffalo. Whenever I see somebody smoking, I almost never see somebody smoking. I have to go to a bar in Addison to see somebody smoking because everybody who still smokes in North Texas goes to bars in Addison and smokes. Here's what you don't see. You never see a young person smoking a cigarette. You don't see a pretty 22-year-old girl who just had an argument with her boyfriend standing out in front of a bar frantically puffing on a cigarette. You don't see that anymore. They don't do that. You know why? Because they've got a vape pen in their purse, and you don't have to go outside to smoke the cigarette. You can just be sitting there arguing with somebody and go, hold on, and vape. You can do that anywhere because, again, it doesn't smell and it goes away. That's changed. People don't smoke anymore. So Biden, stop with your stupid menthol ban. Come on, gang. Get rid of these peppermint cigarettes. Steven Tyler is being accused for a second time now of sexual assault. And anyone in the room who thinks he's innocent, raise your hand. Nobody? Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, Steven Tyler's being accused of raping a girl in 1975. Probably. I mean, second woman sues Aerosmith's Steven Tyler for sexual assault. They describe the story here, so it's fun. So we'll go through the story. A second woman has alleged that Aerosmith frontman Steven Tyler assaulted her when she was a teenager. As reported by Rolling Stone, the allegations stem from two apparent encounters on the very same day in the summer of 1975 in New York City. Plaintiff Jeannie Bellino, a former child model who was 17 years old at the time, is seeking unspecified damages in the suit. Okay, so 1975, Jeannie Bellino, want to get her name right. She is the victim after all. At least so far, we're being told she's the victim. As reported by Rolling Stone, the allegations stem from two apparent encounters on the same day in the summer of 75. Plaintiff Jeannie Bellino, a former child model who was 17. Okay, so it's 1975. She's a 17-year-old girl, junior in high school, maybe a senior. I don't know, junior, senior in high school. 17-year-old girl. She's a fashion model. Okay, so she's seen some things that other 17-year-olds haven't, so we have to consider her level of maturity. She's not some innocent child. Still, let's move on with the story. She's a 17. Do you know what was going on with 17-year-old fashion models in 1975? I mean, have you ever heard stories about Studio 54 and the way that these children were just sold to wealthy men as sex toys? Mariel Hemingway. Do you know what Mariel Hemingway is? Was it Mariel Hemingway's book? Anyway, yes, it was. Man, there was mind-blowingly highly illegal shit going on with the molestation of children at all levels of the fashion industry, probably still going on, but back in the 70s. So here we got a 17-year-old. She's probably, God, what a 17 years old. She's hanging out in New York City. She's a fashion model. She's been to a fashion shoot. And a mutual friend says, hey, you want to go meet Steven Tyler? They played Madison Square Garden last night. And she says, yeah. So they go to his hotel room. So let's pick up the story. As reported by Rolling Stone, the allegations stem from two apparent encounters on the same day in summer of 75 in New York City. Plaintiff Jeannie Bellino, a former child model who was 17 at the time, is seeking unspecified damages. In the suit, Bellino alleges that she first met Tyler, whom was 27 at the time, via a friend who had arranged for them to meet Aerosmith at the Warwick Hotel following a fashion show that Bellino was working. Okay, so she's 17 years old. She's in a fashion show. I'm guessing that Steven Tyler was at the fashion show and he said, I like that 17-year-old, told his friend she wants to come to my hotel. And that's okay. So that's probably how this went down. So she shows up at his hotel. Aerosmith wanted to meet her at the Warwick Hotel following a Manhattan fashion show that she was working. From there, Bellino, her friend, and Steven Tyler, as well as members of his entourage, began walking down 6th Avenue together back to his hotel. At this point, Bellino claims that she asked the singer about a song lyric and that he became frustrated and then forced Bellino into a nearby phone booth. The lawsuit states, while holding her captive, Tyler stuck his tongue down her throat and put his hands upon her body, her breasts, her buttocks, and her genitals. So inside a phone booth in Manhattan in the middle of the day, this is going on. Steven Tyler is raping a fashion model right in front of everybody. As Tyler was mauling and groping the plaintiff, he was humping her, pretending to have sex with her. Pretending, keyword. Others stood by outside the phone booth, laughing as passerbys watched and witnessed. Nobody in Tyler's entourage intervened. The suit states that Tyler's penis was erect, and it was evident to her as he rubbed it against her that he was not wearing underwear and wearing thin pants. She eventually managed to run out of the phone booth in shock and in fear. So she escapes from it. She gets out of the phone booth. She's like, oh my God, stop it. You're so gross, Mr. Rockstar, or whatever she did. She got herself out of that situation, and he's probably fucked up. And he's like, you know, rock stars act like assholes. So he's probably doing that. So now they're there on the sidewalk. Is this where she ran to the police? Is this where she went to a hospital to get checked out? Oh no, this is where she continued walking with him and went back to his hotel room with him. That's what happened next. Did Steven Tyler do this? Yeah. Are there a lot of other moving parts here that need to be considered? Yeah, unfortunately. She further alleges that his entourage watched, laughed, and did nothing. After the phone booth encounter, she said the group then went back to the Warwick Hotel where Tyler allegedly forcibly kissed her and grinded on her near the hotel's bar. She then claims that Tyler whispered in her ear that he was going to his room to do something real quick and that he'd call her to come to the room later. Eventually, Bellino claims that Tyler did call down to the lobby to say that she should come up to his room, but she stated that she couldn't. She couldn't talk. She was also paralyzed, shaking her head to the hotel associate and a doorman. She then told him that she was leaving, and she went home. Per the suit, good for her, she went home. Per the suit, Bellino has suffered and will continue to suffer great pain of mind and body, severe and permanent emotional distress, physical manifest. From this, she was a 17-year-old fashion model who had already reached the heights of New York City fashion shows that are attended by rock stars. And this, we know what was happening in the fashion world with young models back then, okay? So maybe this is where the money is. Did this happen to her? Yes. Is it terrible? Yes. Should Steven Tyler pay for it? Yes. Do I believe for 1 minute that she's been emotionally traumatized for that? No, but he should pay for it because he's a d-bag and you can't do that to people. There you go. We used to allow all of this stuff. Remember, movie producers were allowed to jump to your knees, baby. I'll give you a TV show. That was known to happen. It was called the casting couch. It was known to happen. So when Weinstein got in trouble, we shouldn't have been like, what? How does this happen? We knew it was a thing for years. Rock stars taking advantage of young fashion models? You don't say. But when in 1975, the drug-fueled 70s? You don't say. I mean, look, I like Aerosmith. Steven Tyler's an idiot. Steven Tyler has been an idiot for 40 years, okay? He's not an interesting rock star. He's just a dummy. He's just, so do I believe he's probably a bad guy who did all this shit? Yeah. Was he probably whacked out on drugs and now at this accelerated age and maturity would say, well, I was on drugs and I was a victim? Yeah, probably. Would he do it now? No, because he'd break a hip now. But, whatever. Second woman sues Aerosmith frontman Steven Tyler. I'm surprised that, we don't see more of these things. I mean, I guess I'm glad that we don't see more of these things, right? Because that would mean victims. But I'm surprised that, everybody who ever had a hit record and was considered a rock star in the 1970s hasn't been 40 years later dragged into court for grabbing a girl's ass at a hotel party after their show, in Salt Lake City in 75 or whatever. Bring them all in. They all did stuff. We all did stuff, and we all know about, for years we've been reading in rock autobiographies about all of the stuff that they did, and we laughed and we said, wouldn't it have been fun to be in Led Zeppelin? They raped a woman with a fish in a hotel room in Seattle. That legend of Led Zeppelin raping a woman, a groupie, a fan, a drunk groupie, a drunk fan, raping her with a shark that they caught out the window of their hotel. Their hotel was on the wharf, and you could drop a fishing pole out and you could catch it, and they caught a shark, and they brought a groupie back to the hotel room, and they raped her with it. Oh, God, that story's hysterical. That fucking Led Zeppelin story, man. Hey, tell the one where you raped that girl. Tell that one. That's great. I've read that story and a description of that story half a dozen times in different rock books over the years. And it's always like, that's how crazy and debauched they were. Oh, the 70s. Well, you know what? Fuck those people. Maybe those people do need to be called on the carpet. Maybe now all these years later, we need to drag Robert Plant into, probably blame it on Mooney. Mooney did it. He's dead. You can't charge a dead guy. No. Well, let's do that. Let's start looking at some of these, great stories of rock and roll excess from the 70s, and let's convene some grand juries. What do you say? Grand juries for Grand Funk Railroad. That's what I say. That's what my poster's going to be when I'm marching out in front of the courts. What are you going to do? How about a list of the safest cities or safest states? I like to do these lists. This is the new one. It came out today. These are for last year. These are the safest states. And by design, the least safest states. It's a list from 150. Do you want to start with the least safest states, or should we start with the safest? I don't know. We'll figure that out. Here's how they rate it. Gun violence, personal and residential safety, financial safety, road safety, workplace safety, and emergency preparedness. These are the criteria to determine the safest and the least safe states for you, for me, for our kids. All right, let's go through it. Again, let's start with least safe, right? Least safe. Let's go with least safest state, and then we won't do all 50, but we'll do the bottom 10. Okay, I'll give you the bottom 10, and then I'll give you the top 10, the safest states. Let me see here. What are let's see. The most dangerous states are the usual suspects. Your Louisianas, your Mississippis, your Arkansas. So yeah, 50, the least safe state where you are in the most danger of violent harm coming to your person. State of Louisiana. State of Louisiana is the least safest state in America. Mississippi is the second. Arkansas is the third. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the great state of Texas. Number 4, number 47 on the list. Great state of Texas. Oh, but don't you be... Guess who's next? Florida. Florida is just a little bit safer than Texas. Just a little bit. Florida comes in at 46. Texas comes in at 47. Then you got Alabama, Oklahoma, Colorado, Montana, Missouri, and Tennessee. Those are the least safest states in the United States. All right, so now let's go all the way up to the top. I'll give you the top 10 safest states. Are you ready? Okay, number 10 safest state in the United States is Wyoming. Wyoming's a top 10. Yeah, why not, right? You going to trampled by a buffalo? Hell, we killed all them. I mean, the odds of that happening can't be too great. Number 9, the 9th safest state, Rhode Island. What's going to happen in Rhode Island? What's going to happen to you in Rhode Island? Nothing's going to happen. You know what? Some D-bag from Boston's going to come down there, and that's the only way you could be in danger in Rhode Island. Rhode Island's too small to have any trouble. Rhode Island is number 9, safest state in America. Number 8, well, this just stands to reason. Anybody who's been to this state knows that, there's nothing, please. Least vulnerable people in the whole country. Minnesota, the folks up there in Minnesota. Minnesota nice. Oh, yeah, Minnesota nice. They're just nice people up there. Minnesota is the 8th safest state in America. Number 7 is Hawaii. Yeah, it's an island. Number 6, Connecticut. Connecticut is a safe state? Is it? Connecticut's got like suburbs of New York and stuff, and I would think. Anyway, Connecticut is number 6 safest state in America. All right, we're in the top 5 here. Top 5. The 5th safest state in America. Blows my mind. I would never have thought that this is a state where you're least likely to have any kind of bodily harm. Number 5, Massachusetts. Massachusetts comes in at number 5. Number 4, this is, well, unless you're Elizabeth Smart, Utah. Utah comes in at number 4, 4th safest state in the United States. The 3rd safest state in the United States, New Hampshire. Everybody's slowed up on syrup up there. Nobody's New Hampshire. Does anything bad ever happen to New Hampshire? New Hampshire is the 3rd safest state in the United States. The number 2 safest state in the United States. Well, they better redo this because Maine is no longer, to at least my knowledge, the safe. Maine had themselves quite a mass shooting, so I don't know that Maine is still the number 2 safest state in America. I imagine next year they're going to drop significantly here in this ranking. The number 1, here we go. The number 1 safest state in America, a state that sometimes I forget even exists, and that's probably why it's safe. Don't look at us. We don't want any trouble. It's Vermont, ladies and gentlemen. Ice cream and stupid mountains, right? Isn't that what Vermont? They got stupid mountains, right? They're not real mountains. They're just stupid mountains. There you have it. Those are the safest states in America. All right, let's see what else do we have here. Oh, let me see something. All right, excuse me. How about this? Electric planes. Here's another thing that's going around today. They're talking about electric planes. You feel comfortable on an electric plane? Not first generation. Remember, that's my rule. It's the first commercial electric plane. It's been flying now for 6 months and no one's had any problems. Pugs, would you like to fly on the first commercial electric plane? Nope. No, I'll fly on an electric plane in 20 years when you guys have killed countless amounts of people with all the shit that you didn't know was going to go wrong with an electric plane at 30,000 feet. No, thank you. But electric planes are coming. They're saying they're going to be used for short trips because, you don't want to be in the middle of like a transatlantic flight and then suddenly have your batteries discharging. But electric planes are coming, and the military sees a real use for them. The military is backing the R&D for this company that is ready to roll out their electric plane. I mean, not ready to roll it out, not into mass production, but they're ready to, show it to the people. Electric planes, once a fantasy, start to take to the skies. Chris Caputo stood on the tarmac at Burlington International Airport in Vermont. Hey, I hear Vermont's pretty safe. In early October and looked at the clouds in the distance. He had piloted military and commercial aircraft over a long career, racking up thousands of flight records. But the trip he was about to take would be very different. That's because the airplane Mr. Caputo would fly runs on batteries. Over the next 16 days, he and his colleagues flew the plane, a CX-300 built by their employer, Beta Technologies. They would make nearly 24 stops to rest and recharge, flying throughout congested airspace in Boston, New York, Washington, and over other cities. Let's see. All right, there you go. I just thought that was interesting. Electric planes are coming. I don't know what that means because I'm stupid. I don't know, what does that mean? So is that harder to do? Why would an electric plane be harder? Well, I could explain it to you if you really want me to. Nah, I really don't want you to. Here's one. Okay, you see this? I want to show this. This was going on Twitter. So this was on Halloween night. I shared this on my Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen it. So I shared this. This happened on Halloween night. This is outside Muncie, Indiana. Okay, Muncie, Indiana. A bunch of people were having one of them their Bible study meetings in Muncie, Indiana on Halloween night because, the devil and the evils and all that kind of stuff. And when they came out, And when they came out of their Bible study meeting, they saw this. They took a video. And now the entire Christian crazy world thinks that angels showed up on Halloween night in Muncie, Indiana. So watch this. Here are the angels. These people pointing at the sky. Watch.
Oh, yes. Praise God. Thank you, Jesus. Yes, God. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, how beautiful. Oh, Jesus. Yes. Up there. Oh, my. Hallelujah. Oh, my gosh.
That's right.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
Hey, no problem.
Beautiful. Look, more angels. Can you see him, hon? Hallelujah. Oh, wow. Look at that. Look at the lights.
Yeah.
Things.
Yes,
All
exactly.
Bunch of angels.
All right. Yes, exactly. Look at those lights. Exactly. What Jesus is the angels. It's a hallelujah. Well, the reason I bring this up is because this has gone viral on Christian Twitter. Don't know if you ever dip a toe in Christian Twitter. It's actually not even Christian Twitter. That's unfair because I have a lot of friends who are Christians who are good people who aren't crazy at all. Crazy Christian Twitter. Crazy Christian Twitter has sort of taken this story as proof that the angel showed up and that the end of the world is coming. And it's because of Israel and Hamas and all that stuff. Why'd they show up in Muncie, Indiana? Why is that happening? Okay, so I don't know how well you can see that, but if you've seen the video going around, it's obviously just spotlights in the sky. When you see like a grand opening of a car dealership and there are spotlights, but these people, they came out, and like I said earlier today, there is some overlap. I haven't seen the exact Venn diagram, but there is some overlap between the devoutly religious and the wildly mentally insane. There is some overlap. There is some part where you are both things at once. And I think this is another example of what we're seeing here. So crazy Jesus Twitter is letting us all know that the angels came back and that prepare for the apocalypse. And because it's proven with what's going on in Israel. And then, of course, we just saw the angels come up. So come on, folks, if you're going to kill yourself, let's drink the Kool-Aid. Let's all go out. End of the world's coming. That's kind of the tone that we're seeing among crazy Christian Twitter surrounding that viral video. Breaking news, I'm being told that was Ball State University doing a Halloween celestial light show with lasers and spotlights. So I guess it wasn't angels. I mean, Ball State University is right there. That's what it was. Ball State University is like, no, here's video from the ground. Here's us doing it. So I thought that was funny. Yes, because that a normal person, a normal rational person that you would enter into a contract with or have some sort of daily dealing, a normal, rational person would be fully expected to walk out, look at that, and go, angels! That's. Have you never seen a spotlight before? Have they never opened a new car dealership in your town? Have you never seen Has a new dance club never, opened up at the mall and put the spotlights up? You've never seen that before. That you would see that in the year 2023 and think, angels. All right, that's it. We're basically out of stuff here. I do want to try something. I want to try something here. Hold on. This is a real gamble because it may not work, but I figured why not? And I wouldn't do this to other people, but hold on. All right, let me try this. Bear with me. Indulge me, if you will, because this is entirely for me. Is this Radio Hall of Famer Kevin Matthews that I'm talking to? Is that who this is? But I just saw, ladies and gentlemen, this is my mentor, my boss, most talented radio personality I've ever been around, the great Kevin Matthews. Hey, Kev. Oh, were you? Wait, did you watch me almost die yesterday when I had that? I got really sick and had to stop the show for an hour. I know. Well, if you were forcing me to, and it was 25 years ago, maybe, but as an old man, that didn't appeal to me. Hold on a second. Hold on, Kev. For some reason, we can't hear you. You're not coming across. Why is the phone not coming across? Hold on. Damn it. Let's see. Yeah, we got you. I don't think so. It says we can only hear you. Oh, crap. This sucks. I'm having an issue here. Well, yeah, I'm gonna call you back. I'm gonna wrap up the show. I do want to talk to you. Just catch up with you. So, okay. All right. I love you, boss. I'll call you back in a bit. All right, guys. I have no idea what happened there. I have no idea why the fucking phone doesn't work. So if that doesn't work, are you telling me? Can you hear this? Hold on. All right. Now I gotta wait 15 seconds. All right. Tell me if you can hear this. We can only. Can you guys hear the closing theme? Motherfuck! Hold on. Ugh. All right, are we back? Does it sound any better now? Please let me know. And can you hear? Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. Can you hear this? We'll just cue this up. I need to know. Am I playing a song? And if so, what song am I playing? Help me out in the chat room if you're still there. I have no idea. I have no idea what is going on with this system. Okay, Leslie. So Leslie says yes. Yes, you can hear me. Did you hear the music? And what song was I playing? Because that's very important. I don't know why this show did that. And damn it, this is because April's at the parade. If April was at the parade, she would have let me know 2 hours earlier that we were having some kind of sound difficulty. You people let me down. It's okay. It's the first time. And we'll get past it because you have come through for me many, many times. Still, nobody is answering what song it is, so you can't hear what's playing off of that. That's a problem. Close. There you go. That's what I was looking for. All right, so let me try this again. Oh, my God. All right, let's try this again.
Hello.
All right, now we're going to try this again. I don't know what was happening with the stream. Please welcome Kevin Matthews. No, that's too loud. Hey, boss, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, you finally got that studio all working the way you want it. It sounds great.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. We exist in this. Remember, look, you, Mr. Hall of Famer, and I want to ask you about that as well. You, Mr. Hall of Famer, you grew up in an era. You were pampered. You had engineers. You had guys to yell at. You had interns. Not me. It's me and Ed. That's it. That's what
I know.
Got.
It's you. It's like you work for a bunch of older adults that are slow, and they've got a studio for you folks.
No, it's very nice. Folks, everybody knows, I mentioned him a million times. He's, my opinion, the greatest radio broadcaster of all time, the funniest radio broadcaster that I've ever heard, guy that I came up with. I would say that I learned everything from him, but I didn't, Kev, because to be honest with you, when I started working for you, because I wanted to work for you, because I knew that you did a style of radio that I could never do. I looked at Johnny and I looked at Steve as my dumb, fat little 20-year-old kid, and I thought, I could do that. With some practice, I could do that. I couldn't do. You were unique.
Yeah, well, I was schizophrenic. It's kind of like, it's like if it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't blame you. I was a mess as a kid and everything. So I was like a schizophrenic. Like if you tried to talk Helen Keller in the early years to go into entertainment, come on.
Well, you can say it all you want, whatever. I don't care what the origin story is there. You were an immense talent, and you were truly unique, and you were somebody that I have never. The closest thing to Kevin Matthews that I can say that I've ever heard is Phil Hendry, who was a Los Angeles radio talk show host. That's the closest thing. You and Phil Hendry. Now, so I'm calling you because I love you, and because you are going into the Hall of Fame. Now, you and Shadow Stevens going in together? Tell me about this whole thing. What's happening here?
Now, when did you read that? Because I've been nominated and I'd never made it.
Yeah. Well, that's what some radio thing put it out today.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't even know it. You're breaking it to me. No, I've been nominated a lot, but then I don't make it. And now the Radio Hall of Fame, they're starting to put janitors who cleaned famous studios into the Hall of Fame. And that's how far I'm down the ladder.
I'm pretty sure that Piranha Man is in, right? He's already in before you.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's like I people that used to deliver copper wiring to the Hancock building, they're in, and I love how all of a sudden the Radio Hall of Fame now they're putting like general managers or program directors that fired hundreds. It's like, what are you doing? So I don't know.
So I see you are in a class though of fellow nominees. You got Shadow Stevens. You got Bob Rivers. Isn't Bob Rivers the grandma got run over by a reindeer guy?
He might be.
That's who he is.
I don't know. If I ever do get in though, I'm having Chris Elliott introduce me.
Yeah, that would be good.
Well, the reason is because he's never heard my radio show. So I want somebody that's never heard my show to introduce me.
Of course. That would make perfect sense.
Yeah.
So I see. I've been sharing. I know that you're doing. Well, not you, but I know that Jim is doing his sports picks. How are Jim's sports picks? Jim is Kevin's longtime co-host.
Yeah, he's doing animated picks this year. He's continuing with the Chicago Bears, and Jim has lost a tremendous amount of money, including a lot of people that just like the Chicago Bears. That is such a train wreck. It's just a nightmare. In fact, I think the whole NFL this year has really cost a lot of people a lot of money. I really do.
Well, yeah. Well, the way gambling is more front and center than it ever has been, I imagine you're right there. More people losing money every single week. I do want to ask you one last thing. I saw something, and it sort of concerns a place that you and I are a bit familiar with. Did you happen to catch, I was talking about it earlier here on the stream, did you catch that PBS documentary, The War on Disco, that talks about Doll and the Loop and all that?
I saw it, and I was going to watch it, but all of a sudden now, it's gotten anything I've seen with Steve or the, his Disco Demolition and that whole White Sox part. Now they just, say that it was, an attack on gay people and disco, and it's like such. It's just
okay.
So stupid.
Okay, Kevin, I want you to run with that, and I'm going to give you the floor here. But just earlier today, that was my main criticism about it, that I remember I was there. I was a kid. I remember watching that on the news. I remember watching that game live as it happened. That was not my love of Stephen Gary back then and why we were insane coho lips and all that. That had nothing to do with black or gay. The whole thing was about the excess and the douchebaggery of suburban disco that had pushed out rock bars and rock clubs.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't
was
just
about.
Suburban. It was the whole country. And you got, at that time, I wasn't watching the White Sox because I'm over in Michigan going to college. And I'm playing punk records, while the country is playing disco. I'm playing imports of the Sex Pistols, Madness, all this other stuff. So, yeah, I just watched this music cannibalism in America, and I was not even part of it because I'm listening to,
yeah, you're a punk.
The Sex Pistols,
yeah, you're a punk rock guy. That's who you are. That's who you've always been. That's your attitude. I would suggest you watch it though, because
I want to, but it is what it is. It was a time in American history where just people were sick of it. That's all. Yeah. They were just sick of it, and and it doesn't have to go this wokeness and we're out to do that. It just shut up.
Well, again, these are younger people who are looking back at history, and they're drawing these parallels to social concerns of today that didn't exist back then.
Yeah, you know what? And again, these idiots today that are looking back on social events, shut up.
Exactly.
Please, just shut up.
It's different.
It's just, it is different times, and it's like, I love history, whether it's, I don't care what it is. I don't mind looking back at it, and I'll look at disco as a matter of fact. Yeah, I was listening to punk at that time, but I can go back and I can objectively listen to the Bee Gees, that album.
Mm-hmm.
That is an unbelievable recording.
You talking about Saturday Night Fever and that entire
there's no
era,
question.
That entire era of the Bee Gees in the studio is a masterwork.
It is, and I can look back and go, "Oh my God, that was unbelievably done to perfection." So I mean, I love to have an open mind. I don't just close it. It was
and that's the other thing. You're a punk guy, but you're also a big funk guy. Like you were always,
Oh my God, yeah. I met my
George
wife
Clinton.
at a funk and punk party. And don't forget, when I was growing up too, and early in my radio career, I got to know Frank Zappa very well.
Mm-hmm.
And Frank hated You know, you couldn't put him in a box.
No.
And he would make fun of all kinds of music, including disco or rock. You know, he hated corporate rock. And that's how come he came up with the pseudonym, you know, Ruben and the Jets. In order to get radio airplay, he had to come up with a whole new name and go, you know, and sneak into radio. So I wish people would just, you know, watch it. If you don't like it, don't watch it. If you like it, listen.
I think the reason I would suggest that you invest the time this
Oh, yeah.
weekend to watching it is because it will surprise you. Because what you said about the way people talk about that event now is all about
Yeah.
black and gay. They push back on that in this documentary.
Good. Well, they should, because
there's actually a black historian at the end of it who says, and this is something that I got into a bit of a thing on Twitter with yesterday, but this black historian, this young girl, she goes, it was because of the events of disco demolition that disco was forced underground and it reemerged as house music, creating a whole new kind of music.
Sure it did.
And then
And
she
you
said,
can't tell
hold
me-
on, wait. Here's what this woman said. She said, so if you look at it that way, Steve Dahl is responsible for house music.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Thank you very much. And again, you know, the White Sox of the South Side, you've got on the South Side Chess Records. Okay, so you can't tell me that Steve didn't like Muddy Waters or anybody of the Giants coming out of Chess Records.
Oh, yeah.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
No, Steve, look, first of all, I had this rant earlier. I mean, Steve has always been an open, at a time when it was not, the Loop in general, going back to the late 70s, was a mega powerful radio station, and they were gay friendly. Your show at a time before Ellen was out, before everybody was out.
Oh my God.
We had Dan, we had open conversations about lifestyles and sexuality. There was no bigotry. Steve Dahl, and I said this, Steve Dahl is the guy who made gay people acceptable to me, because on Steve Dahl's show, he had Diver Dan for years.
Right.
Couldn't get a job anywhere else. And Steve's like, nope, my guy can work here. What? Because he's gay, he can't work? No, you're gay and you're going to talk about it. So this narrative that the Loop was bigoted and all of this is such garbage.
It is. And I had another Dan who was a listener that came on.
Sure.
Dan, he contracted AIDS. He literally died on
in
the
front
air.
of us. I was there with Dan.
And I was the first radio show to ever host a parade float with the Gay Pride Parade. We had the Death Mobile in there, where we recreated the Eat Me Mobile from Animal House. No, you know, it's I make no apologies for anything.
No.
The Loop, we embrace culture.
The right side of
changed
history at every turn. When I look back at the Loop and some of the outrageous and things that we did that were shocking, that made people turn their noses up at us, it doesn't matter. We were on the right side of history on the important issues. And the shit that people were turning their nose up, what? Because we talked about boobs and farts? That's what made us bad? Come on.
Hello.
Yeah.
No, I'll give it a watch.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. It's got everybody. I mean, a whole bunch of Logan's all over it. Our boy, who else is on there? Steve's on there. It's interesting. You'll like it.
All right, buddy, and have fun in Dallas.
I love you, boss. How you feeling otherwise? You good?
Oh, good. Real good. Real good.
All right, love you, boss.
Thank you. Always.
Give everybody my best. There he goes. Radio Hall of Famer, my boss, my mentor, Kevin Matthews. He's so incredibly funny. There was a YouTube video. I won't bore you with this now because I see that our numbers are dwindling because we've stopped doing the actual show. There was a YouTube video that I wonder. Here's the thing. I think I'm going to have my 14-year-old son listen to it, and I want to see what he thinks of it. Because without context, without understanding what you're listening to, I'm wondering if it's as funny as I think it is. But it's one of the funniest moments in the history of radio that I've ever heard. And I wasn't working, I was just a kid. I was a kid dreaming of working with that guy that we just talked to. And then I listened to this radio show. Oh, okay. So here's what I'm talking about. This is the YouTube video. So there was a blizzard in Chicago. Now, the guy we just talked to, Kevin, he mentioned that he's schizophrenic. And he said, yeah, I'm kind of schizophrenic. I got all these. He does. The Kevin Matthews show is like 12 people hosting a radio show together at the same time. All the voices are him. He's everybody. He's everybody at the same time. His primary co-host is a guy by the name of Jim Shorts, who's a sports guy. And he and Jim get into arguments, and it's all Kevin. Anyway, so I'm listening to this at home. And here's the premise. We had a blizzard in Chicago the night before. So everybody's home from school. Nobody's going into work. So you turn into the loop in the morning and you're listening for Kevin Matthews. And it turns out Kevin Matthews isn't there. He can't get there because of the blizzard. Kevin, the actual human being, couldn't make it in because of the blizzard. So all of his sidekicks hosted the blizzard show without Kevin being there. You guys, out of context, it is the funniest goddamn thing that I've ever heard on the radio. I can still listen to it all these years later. But again, it's funny to me because I understand the characters. Like, I know who these people are, and I know why Jimmy is fighting with Eddie. And, I know why Devon is doing what he's doing. Anyway, there you go. Congratulations to him. Well-deserved Radio Hall of Famer, the great Kevin Matthews. All right, guys, we're out of here. We're going to be done. I love you folks. I think we made it this week. I don't know. Like I said, we started the show. We were $60 out. Even if we didn't get another dime today, man, we got so close. We're there. Look, I'll push it. We'll go. We are going. We are safe for another month. So thank you all so much. Another day, the best is yet to come. You guys, I apologize. Everything's out of whack now. After I tried to fix the studio on the fly there, I kind of plugging shit in. I don't know what's happening. Everything's levels are all off now. How about some John Hinckley? Okay. I love you guys. Have a great weekend. Follow me. Follow me right off a cliff. Pugs Moran on Facebook. I think it's Pugs Moran everywhere. This is why you have zero success. I know. I don't even know how to properly promote my social handles. Doesn't stop me from doing this every day for 2 years, and we're gonna keep going thanks to you. Love you all. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.